Good morning, I hope everyone's well today. Thank you for watching, it is appreciated as always. It seems every single day I need to make a video on trying to cool tempers and to de-escalate tensions. There's clear information and there's clear video evidence that the left, such as Vicky Jones last year, and others which I'll get to later in this video, have no problem inciting violence to stifle and to stop people from talking about things that they are legitimately concerned about. Before we get into the meat of the video, I want to first of all say that the police will take no further action over the comments made by Reform Councillor Claire Mackey-Brown up in Scotland, up in Falkirk. They're not going to do anything about that. They've looked at it, probably had a right old laugh that I was even referred to them in the first place, and decided that they're not going to do anything about it. But the punishment is always the process. The fact that she's had to go through this is the punishment. And remember, I posted this video previously on the channel. She was checking herself. That's the political environment that the left have made the right actually lean into in the United Kingdom. She should have doubled down and said, yeah, I'm born and bred here, there's nothing wrong with that, deal with it. She probably would have won more votes. That'd be my advice on that particular one. Now we look at this one regarding the dinghy diver from Afghan, I think his name is Madapasa, who's actually been sentenced to 5 years in prison, and Nigel Farage put out the statements. The illegal immigrant who threatened to kill me has been sentenced to 5 years in prison. The violent criminal will be back on the streets within 18 months. How many more of these are in the United Kingdom who have crossed the channel? That's a valid question, legitimate concern. Apparently he was quite argumentative and violent in court, and he wanted to be sent back to Afghan. Why hasn't he been sent back? He should be sent back. I don't want to pay 50k a year to support this no mark in prison. He's clearly not one of the best. But this is the issue. This is the political violence and the threats of political violence that both the migrants and their supporters on the left don't mind engaging in. And this is deeply, deeply concerning. It should concern everybody. People on the right, like me, don't want to shut down debates. We can win the arguments, we can debate the left under the table. The left can't, which is why they want to shut people up and they misuse words. We're going to get into Zarah Sultana from the Fruit and Nut Party, and she was up in Liverpool, and she made some very, very dangerous comments, which I want to comment on. Now, the situation is, what you need to remember is as well, is that she's an elected official. People listen to her for some reason, and she should be more careful about what she says. So we're going to play the clip now.
Scapegoating, stealing our scarce resources, demonised by the media and political establishment. And the results are clear for everyone to see. The largest fascist mobilisation in Britain in recent memory.
What she's referring to here is the United Kingdom rally. She thinks it's a fascist movement. It's not a fascist movement at all. She doesn't know the meaning of the word, which we'll get into in a minute. Or she does know the meaning of the word, and she's deliberately misusing it. Either way, it strips the word of its meaning because she's being quite intellectually dishonest.
Racist attacks in our towns and women and children.
Racist attacks in our towns, women and children attacked. Well, yeah, she's right. That's completely true. It's just the reverse of what she's saying it is. All the white women and children that were attacked in the grooming gangs by predominantly Pakistani Muslim men. This isn't xenophobic. This isn't Islamophobic. This is accurate reporting of the data. She's not interested in that because it doesn't fit her narrative and it doesn't fit her debate.
Attacked for the colour of their skin. This hasn't come out of nowhere. It's been involvement by sections of the media and politicians who scapegoat migrants, Muslims and minorities every single day.
I have no problem saying that the majority of Muslims are peaceful. The majority of migrants are peaceful. Whether they're here or not is government policy. I think the migration should be in the tens of thousands, if not in the negative. I think that if Britain wants to remain either a secular society underpinned by Christian history, then we need to be careful about what Muslims we're letting in and how many, because they do not integrate. This is serious. It may not be serious to her, but it's serious to me. People on the left, especially the extreme left, they're not about diversity, equity, inclusion, as they always say. They're about the destabilisation of the West. That's what they care about. They want to see the West fall for whatever which sick and twisted reason that is. That is what she's advocating for here. But all of the stuff that she's saying about people being targeted for the colour of the skin, that's accurate. But it's the whites that are being targeted, the majority population that are being targeted. And she's right, the media are running cover for it as well. So she doesn't actually understand that it's actually a big cell phone.
Reform is their parliamentary and political vehicle, and Farage gives them their parliamentary face. But the politics behind it is the same poison that fuels the far right in our streets. And I spoke at the Tommy Robinson demonstration because we have a duty to fight back. If we don't fight back, the far right will keep filling that vacuum that has been created by Labour's capitulation and a broken political system. And we must be clear, if you don't stop fascism by ignoring it, copying it, you stop it by fighting it at the ballot box, and where necessary, you fight the fascists in the streets.
That's including incitement to violence. She's targeted Reform UK. She said that they're fascists, and she said you need to fight them on the ballot box, and if that fails, in the streets. That's clear incitement to violence by any threshold in the United Kingdom. Especially get people put in prison for saying burn it down for all I care, meaning they're indifferent, they're not actually advocating for it, as what happened with Lucy Connolly last year. She's not doing that. She's saying, let's do it. And that's deeply disturbing and deeply dangerous. To label reform, to label me a fascist, you're clearly really, really dumb, or you're acting in a really dumb way because you're robbing the word of its meaning. Let's have a look at what a fascist actually is, and let's see if me, being a Reform member of vote, actually fits the criteria. Ultranationalism, extreme devotion to a nation or race, often promoting superiority over others, rejecting internationalism. While I am a nativist, I'm not a globalist. That in of itself isn't fascism. I don't think that Britain is superior in an ethnic sense. I mean, some people might make that argument, but I don't think the Reform voters. I think that Britain, England, Wales, Scotland should be for the British and the British alone. We should democratically decide at the ballot box whether we want to invite people in as immigrants on visas, study visas, with no indefinite leave to remain just because you happen to be here for a few years. So no, I wouldn't say that I am actually a fascist based on point number one. Point number two, authoritarian leadership. Worship of a strong dictatorial leader, i.e. the Führer, who embodies the state's will and demands to absolute obedience. We can't actually be a fascist dictatorship in the United Kingdom because of our democracy, the way that we can vote in and vote out leaders. That's the whole point. If Farage is elected tomorrow as Prime Minister or the next election, he can be voted out unless he abolishes democracy completely and abolishes elections, which wouldn't be allowed. It couldn't go through. In those circumstances, that's why we have the monarchy above all of this, because if the government refuses to go to the country when its time is up, the king can intervene and actually dismiss the parliament unilaterally. So now, again, being elected, say for example Nigel tomorrow gets elected on the promise of negative migration, putting all the illegals into gulags until they're processed and deported, making sure that none of them get benefits, making sure that they all go pretty much straight away, and we, cut the benefits bill down. None of this is fascist if it's been voted for and they've been elected to deliver on that manifesto. That's not fascism. Then we look at the third one, suppression of dissent, use of violence, propaganda, state control to eliminate opposition, including censorship of media and purge political rivals. Well, that sounds like Labour, that sounds like the Uni Party, that sounds like the Blairite programme. Who invented Ofcom? It was Tony Blair. alright? It wasn't Nigel Farage and it wasn't anybody on the right. And they regulate what can go on TV and what can go on the radio. So maybe we are in a fascist regime at the moment. Maybe we are. There was a recent article on News Story saying that the Sky News are actually editing out the Keir Starmer as a wanker chant at darts games. Why? Because they want to manipulate the narrative. That's what fascists do. Then we look at the fourth one. Militarism and expansionism. Alright. Glorification of war, military power, and aggressive territorial conquest to achieve national destiny or living space. Again, I don't actually think Reform UK or anybody on the right is actually calling for that. I do say in jest that there will be a British Empire 2.0 one day. I mean, that's half serious on that point, but that's not fascism, not as it's defined. Then the fifth one, corporatism and anti-liberalism, the fusion of state and corporate power to suppress individualism, labour rights and democratic institutions in favour of a hierarchical order. Again, that sounds like the Uni Party, that sounds like what the left do. Labour with the digital IDs, if that's not fascist, I don't know what is. So Zarah Sultana, I don't know what the heck she has spoken, but I would like some, because she's clearly mentally disturbed. She shouldn't be in office as a parliamentarian, and if people, where she's elected, have any sense, they'll be voting her out. Reform are not fascist, that's pretty much very, very clear. This is important because we had a Reform councillor, George Finch, over the weekend. I think he's from Warwickshire Council, and he was actually attacked, him and a lady friend. And let's just read it. Reform UK Council leader George Finch and a friend have allegedly been physically assaulted in the street. The Warwickshire Council boss, Mr Finch, 19, was out with a female friend in Nuneaton on Friday night when the pair were attacked by a young man. The council leader was allegedly labelled racist and fascist in a torrent of abuse. The alleged assailant allegedly pursued the pair through the town before the police were called at around 2 a.m. That's part one of the story. Part two of the story. Officers have now launched a probe into the incident while Reform leader Nigel Farage has waded in to back Mr Finch. Farage said the incident has left him deeply upset, and the words used echo the Prime Minister's disgraceful attack on Reform during a Labour conference recently. Labour has condemned the attack and has insisted it would be categorically incorrect to suggest that either Keir Starmer or the party was responsible. Maybe not directly. They set the language, they set the tone by calling everybody that's not on with Labour's plan for their national renewal a political enemy. And then you get people that were in the Labour Party until very recently, like Zarah Sultana, calling us all racist and fascists. Then it only takes one or two nut jobs on the street to take that literally, and you've got a very big problem. Jo Cox, she was murdered by a right-winger. She shouldn't have been murdered. And neither should Sir David Ames. He was murdered by Islamists at a constituency. The politicians have a responsibility to set the discourse and to set the tone of what's acceptable and what isn't. This is not acceptable. I'm calling the nut jobs out to say, listen, if you can't beat me in a debate, fair play. Admit it. Have a little cry. Move on. Political violence is never and will never be acceptable, and it's never the answer. Now, if you like this video and you think the nutjob Zarah Sultana should resign, you let me know. It's curious, she was up in Liverpool delivering that speech, but I don't think she's been arrested or even questioned by the police. Almost like they're not actually interpreting the law anymore, they're just the foot soldiers of the regime. This is disturbing. Anyway, something to think about. I know I will be. Have a good day and thank you for watching as always. You take it easy.